right, live from Dogleg Brewery in Fort Worth, Texas. It's time for You Can't Brew That on Television. Now, here are your hosts, Brewmeisters Kyle and the Reverend Ryan Bono.
All right.
What's going on, Internet? How are you doing tonight, Rich?
So far, so good, guys.
I know we said we wouldn't ask you how you're doing anymore, but I'm just genuinely curious.
How are you doing, Bono?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
How's the studio audience doing?
Super great.
All right. Well, all three dudes and all three dogs are apparently ready for tonight's show.
2 dogs are wagging tails and 1 dog is asleep. So.
Everyone, we have an exciting season for you, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight.
Yep.
We're going to talk a little bit about last season, so we're going to look at the Brewing Bowl. We're going to drink some beer.
That's good.
Because we like drinking beer.
I'm going to drink some right now.
Which is why we have the show. He needs to finish our pre-show beer. We've got a special surprise segment tonight from Kyle.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on. I suspect I'm going to be the butt of a joke, but that happens.
You know, your mother made you that.
That's true. That is true. Like I said, we're going to recap the Big Brew, and we're going to try some beer. Oh, and we've also got the iPhone correspondent is going to make an appearance tonight, which he did the honky, and he's done a fantastic job for the show. So we're going to save his segment for the last, kind of like as a headlining act. So Kyle's going to show you the can for tonight's beer. We've been somewhat perplexed by what's going on here. First of all, it's called Reeb. We think it's from
backwards for beer.
Yeah, it is. It is, isn't it?
Yes.
I didn't even catch that till just now. This was brought to us by.
Style of pop top. Try to make it where you can actually see this, but I don't have.
It's actually back a little right there.
Back.
Yeah. This beer was brought to us by a friend of the show who went and visited China. She brought us a few beers last season. This is the last of the Chinese beers we're going to have. And this one's kind of interesting because, as Kyle was trying to point out to you, it's got a really old school pull tab from before when Pop Tops actually existed. So we've been trying to figure out how this thing even works. We got a member of the studio audience who, do you want to just try it ourselves? Or
Curtis?
You're supposed to be able to do it with your teeth.
You're supposed to be able to do it with your teeth.
That just sounds,
is what we're being
that just sounds
informed
like something that I shouldn't do.
by the studio audience.
Anything followed by that kind of a chuckle just seems like I shouldn't do it.
Oh
yeah, that's dangerous. Man, I can imagine opening the 30th one of these would be.
Now cut somebody's neck with it.
Okay.
No.
No, don't cut anybody's neck with it. Guys, we dropped off the air.
Did we drop off the air?
Okay, it looks like people were refreshing one at a time. So we're back. We've got this Chinese beer. Just like most Chinese beers, this is probably going to be what do you think? A 50-50 mix of grain, like barley and rice, probably.
I don't even know how to pour out of these things. I just pour it all over my hand, trying to empty out of the old. It's like a dull pineapple can.
That's exactly what it looks like. It's a dull pineapple can.
Let's see if it tastes like dull pineapples.
All right, I'll go show the audience at home the opening to this can because it does look.
And I've been told you're supposed to throw these on the ground so that somebody will step on them later.
Is that what you're supposed to see? You get this weird opening here. Can you hold this for a minute? Thanks.
You know, not nearly as skunky as the last Chinese beer we had.
No, the first Chinese beer actually smelled like we were pouring it out of a skunk.
Mm-hmm.
The last one was also canned, so it was. The last one was actually really good. It had surprising flavor.
I forgot the middle one there. The first one, that was the bad one.
The first one was pretty horrendous, and that's why we started with it.
Yeah.
This has got a really light flavor to it.
Dude, it just don't taste much.
Even lighter than it looks, if you can believe that. Like I think Budweiser would probably taste like a stout compared to this.
Yeah, I would say that. This is this would be classified as.
I think this is a Kolsch.
No, it'd be classified as a light American lager.
Okay.
And it's got 3.1% alcohol.
It's 3.1% alcohol.
Very few beers ring in at that low. In
Yeah.
fact, there's only 3 styles that are technically can ring in that low.
It's like this and Listerine.
And this is not really one of them.
No.
Light American lagers are not supposed to be this light. They're still supposed to be upwards of like 3.8.
Surely this is some sort of Chinese style, I'm wondering, that can ring in that low.
Well, it's very light, like most Chinese people I know. So
Yeah.
you know,
Tan.
that's right.
Yeah.
Nick, not so light. He's Chinese though, right?
Yeah, no, he's Vietnamese.
Oh, my bad.
So,
All right, well, that'll finish in like 3 seconds.
yeah,
so
this is
we'll
going to
knock that
finish
back.
pretty quick. This would be a good beer, though, to drink on a summer afternoon, like after you finish mowing the lawn or something. It's just it's
During
really,
mowing the lawn.
or during mowing the
But
lawn.
it would
It's
never
smooth-
replace my Modelo Especial, which I actually drink. while
smooth,
mowing the
easy
lawn.
drinking beer. I'm liking it.
See, we've got the riding lawnmower with the koozie in the side, and you got your hands to operate the other can, and then there's like a little
Well, I've got
like a little cubby that you can put 2 or 3 more beers in.
I've got to
so.
push more. We might want to look at this as summer gets closer. Or is the best ways to drink while mowing the lawn? Because since I've got a push mower, I use one of the beer dispensing plastic helmets, and we'll have to look at some of the pros and cons of those different things. So before we get to that, though, in a few months, let's look at the special segment that Bono doesn't know about.
Rich, you ready to roll our special segment?
Are we ready to roll the special segment?
Brew buddy, brew buddy. Whenever I brew, he brews. Brew buddy, brew buddy. I'll teach him everything that I know. Brew buddy is here, it's time to talk about beer. Brew buddy, don't pout, 'cause we're brewing up a dry stout. Brew buddy, brew buddy, brew buddy and me.
So yeah, that's your special secret segment there. We just figured we'd branch out and do a little advertising.
Wow.
That was why, and Richard, we're sitting here before, and he stumbles on all my words and everything that I didn't realize I left here. But luckily, he's not too bright to put 3 and 2 together.
Why
Smooth
did you
operator.
print them up? Were you singing that? It sounded like Rich.
No, it was me.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Rich doesn't sing.
I forgot where we were, though. That was too funny.
So everybody, that'll be available on YouTube after we're done tonight, and available on podcasts and whatnot.
I'll post it on my Facebook page.
Yeah, everybody, he's my brew buddy. I just wish you were available in little 2-foot tall form that I could carry around.
As opposed to the 3-foot tall form that you see before you.
Yeah, but you pack a little more punch than the little dolls filled with goose feathers or whatever they were made of.
Oh, wow. All right, let's
Brewing Bowl, man. Let's talk about
proceed
Brewing
and
Bowl.
talk about Brewing Bowl. We had a great Brewing Bowl. Things went
It was a lot
really
of
well. We had a couple technical difficulties here and there during the broadcast.
It was
but overall, I think it went very well.
It was a little bit of a bummer just because the way we had to do it in the new area, it was tough to keep the power cords out of the water. And so when we ended up towards the end of this, sparging out, and then we ended up doing the chilling, that was the most inopportune thing we could do.
When we got to chilling, we had to completely turn it off. But what we ended up doing was making 2 batches of beer. We made the 2010 Brewing Bowl recipe as well as the 2011 Brewing Bowl recipe, which we designed, again, here on the show with you last fall.
And I'm anxious to see how that turned out. We did this for a friend of ours who had never brewed all grain before, and so he wanted to get into all grain brewing, and we were excited about it. And he said, I want to brew this. What do you think about this recipe? And I said,
We've got
we got a pretty good one for that. Why don't we brew up the same one we did for last year's Brewing Bowl? And worked out pretty well. Now, both brews went by without a hitch.
Yeah.
And no problems.
Yeah, they both went extraordinarily well. I was kind of off-put by the fact that we didn't have any problems.
We didn't have anything to
usually
do.
there's something. Yeah.
Something that has to go wrong for us to have a normal brew day. But no, it didn't this time. So, we were able to put our drinking skills to use as opposed to our troubleshooting skills.
And since we're engineers, that means we don't have enough features yet. So for our next brew, we're going to definitely add something.
Yeah, we're looking at adding a chiller. So we're going to do some stuff along that note. Yep.
That's right, chiller. So let's talk a little bit about last season.
Okay.
Because last season I thought was a really good springboard for the show. Last season was season 1.
It was fun. Season 1.
Season 1, what? It was really good.
I'm going to cut myself with this pool tab before it's
Yeah,
all
stop
done. I should
messing with
stop
that.
playing with that.
Here, I'll feed it to one of the dogs.
Yeah, put it back up there. I'll find it later.
Yeah, you'll find it later. Season 1, we had a really neat segment that we all had a good time with, and I hope you enjoyed it. And that was the design of the Brew and Bowl beer.
That was fun.
You, the viewing audience, and the people sitting here, the studio audience, helped us design the recipe that we ended up making on January 1st.
Everything smelled great from the people we had look over the recipe. We had some relative experts in the area look over our recipe and say, well, this is where we ended up. And, they were actually instrumental in helping us build it in the first place. So by the end of it, I think we had a pretty good recipe. It smelled great when we made it.
It smells fantastic. It's looking fantastic. We've got very high hopes for this beer. We think it's going to place very well in competition.
We'll see.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see.
Maybe ready come Blue Bonnet. We'll see. It's going to be pretty young.
Yeah.
It may be worth putting in.
It's going to be ready for Celtic.
Should be ready for Celtic for sure.
We've decided that we're going to bottle ferment this beer, which is something we talked about during season 0, but I think it's time to recap it just because we have so many new viewers.
We should.
I didn't mean to go there.
Or cap it for the first time.
And so, I think that's something we should do live on the air. I don't know. We'll have to think about that. Bottle fermentation is pretty serious stuff.
I definitely think we should do it live.
We should do it live.
Do it live.
Do it live. Okay, yeah. I was just wondering what Bill O'Reilly thought about that. Why don't you start talking a little bit about this season while I go get us some beer?
Okay. This season we've got some tricks up our sleeve. We hope. We've got a few ideas, some things that will be different. We've got something that actually Curtis helped us think about the last go around. A frat boy versus beer snob. We're going to get that thing going. We've got our first segment already figured out. We're going to have to find some volunteers to do the frat boy versus beer snob. We've got a couple people in mind. We'll probably pull Mr. Faulkner here. And just to mention in our little plug here, we've got Ryan Faulkner and Johnny Gibson here. They're going to be doing a sports show here coming up on Frontier Television. We're looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to calling in because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be their dedicated call-in guy that calls every show. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about tonight, but I'd like to call in.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
So we're definitely going to harass those guys, and you guys should as well. Anytime we have somebody Ryan's a relative expert. I know he's watched sports before, so I'm pretty sure he knows everything about them. And I digress, excuse me. But yeah, we've got
some really neat segments planned for this season.
We've got some interviews coming up. We're going to incorporate Jen a lot more into this season. Hopefully she'll be able to help us out with some of these interviews and some of our off-site stuff that we'll be planning.
Jen's going to help us with a lot of our off-site stuff. And let's wait for a few weeks to make the big announcement.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty massive announcement for everybody that we're going to bring you here in a few weeks. We just want to make sure that we get a little bit closer.
Just a hint, that's why Bono's not turning to the side.
To it becoming a reality. Why aren't I turning to the side? Oh.
He's having twins.
But he's drinking now. It's okay. In your first trimester, it's okay to drink. So, Big Brew was fun. We've done our China beer. Let me see what else is on this stuff. Do you want to talk about this beer while we're drinking it, or you want to?
I do want to talk about this beer while we're drinking it. This is Fuller's Vintage Ale, and this is a beer that they release annually. And the year that we have is 2008, I believe. Yeah, this is the 2008 Fuller's Vintage. There's a nice, healthy caramel note to it.
Big time.
And I mean, this is aged nicely. This is bottle fermented, which we've talked about in the past. There's different ways to get carbonation into your beer. There's what I would refer to as the newfangled way, which is forced carbonating. Mm-hmm. You put beer into a vessel that can handle the pressure, and then you put carbon dioxide on it until the carbon dioxide becomes entrained in the beer itself. And then you pour that carbon dioxide entrained beer into a bottle and cap it. Well, Fuller's decides to go with a different route on that. They actually put non-carbonated beer into the bottle with a little bit of sugar.
Maybe priming yeast, you never know.
Maybe some priming yeast. It just depends on actually, on a big beer like this, I might expect some priming yeast.
Yep.
Because
they'll probably introduce some yeast back in because the yeast is old and dead.
And so what they
welcoming our
end up
studio
doing
audience.
is they induce a second fermentation in the bottle, and that carbonates from within. So the fermentation process breaks sugar down into alcohol and carbon dioxide. The alcohol makes the beer a little bit stronger, and the carbon dioxide actually carbonates the beer from within.
Mm-hmm. And there is another method that you can use definitely to carbonate your beer, but I don't recommend it because hot is not good for beer, especially once it's already fermented out. But a lot of times when you've got, like, when you know somebody like a Tommy or a Utah or a Faulkner that has enough hot air in themselves,
Right, yeah.
they can then inject that hot air into the beer and create bubbles, and the beer will be ready. You didn't like my coffee mug, man? You're just taking my stuff all off the table. You moved
coffee
my
mug has no business on the show.
You moved my Scotch glass. You moved my what else? You moved my pens,
Right
my
through your
papers.
masking tape down there.
My masking tape. That was marking that we had Maris Otter malt in those buckets.
What style would you expect this to be?
An old ale.
That's what I'm thinking too. I would really kind of like to look it up.
I mean, old ale is it's definitely an old ale. Falls right into the style. I mean, this thing, it's real caramely, but it's got some bitterness to it. They definitely hopped it because it's a big beer. And I mean, this is really, really tasty. And just, it's complex. It's caramel. It's got
a really big caramel note, which I've really come to appreciate over the last year or so.
Yep.
It's
chew this
in
beer,
the
it's hard to
aroma
drink
and
it
the
this-
palate. Yeah, it's a big, full-bodied beer.
We were also completely not drinking this in the correct glass, but it's all right. We'll forgive ourselves.
Yeah, we'll live with it. So we've got a segment for this season that we're still trying to put together, but we think it's going to be a lot of fun. And this was actually suggested to us by Jen the Beer Goddess, who watches a show called Ambush Makeover. Is that what? Makeover Ambush? I don't know. It's a show where I guess they go find random people on the street, and they make them dress differently.
It's on the gay and lesbian network. I think they make them dress like the opposite sex.
E? Is that it's on?
No.
Anyway, and so we've decided that we're going to start doing beer ambush makeovers, and we're going to go to the Saucer probably and find some frat boy drinking.
We may not dedicate ourselves to the Saucer. There's plenty of places, especially in
I think we're
downtown
going to start
Fort
at the
Worth.
Saucer though.
Yeah, probably, but that doesn't mean we have to. We've got a lot of other establishments, good drinking haunts in that area that, everybody gets their person that comes in there. We basically want to transform the beer snob or the frat boy into a beer snob environment, and then we may need to twist that back the other way at some point too. We may need to snag the beer snob and make him enjoy some really fine
Miller
40s and
MD 2020.
yeah, but I think most beer snobs have gone through that phase in their life, and they've enjoyed that, and I think they would enjoy it again.
And as the show continues to progress and mature and grow up a little bit,
We don't.
We
And
don't.
that's why we have...
and that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
But seriously, what I was getting at was that a lot of our segments are suggested to us and given to us by you, by the viewing audience
Right,
and the
because we're not
studio
creative.
audience and friends of the show, because we're not broadcasters. And so if you have an idea for a segment that you'd like to see us try, then by all means mail it in.
And it can't involve dancing. I'm not going to dance with any stars.
It can.
Oh, you'll dance with stars?
No, I just said it can.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, yeah, you can
we're not
suggest
gonna-
whatever
we're
you
not gonna-
want.
We're not going to do it.
Right. Suggest away. But, yeah, we'll definitely ignore your suggestions with no problem.
And another new segment we're talking about for this season is a beer Mythbusters, where there's some beer myths out there, and I wouldn't call this a Mythbusters segment, but we're planning on doing an episode where we sort of highlight the differences in alcohol by volume.
So are you planning on taking that portion of the vintage ale home with you on your arm hair?
No, I hadn't planned on it.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll leave it here.
Okay. Sorry, that was distracting me. He had some static electricity going on his fur coat
It's
that he
it's
wears.
actually adhesive.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's not static to your
It's adhesive.
to your man coat.
Adhesive is a verb. Yeah, I know. It keeps dropping out.
So, Otto, we just totally derailed. So let's get back on here. We're going to drink this beer, which makes me totally derail. This is a very strong beer. I highly recommend this. Bono got this. He said he found it at somebody else's house, and when they weren't looking, he got it. So
No,
it's
they were looking.
Oh, were they?
I just left with it.
Okay. You know, I came, I saw, I stole a Guinness mug and broke it in the parking lot. Right?
That's about right. So it turns out we might have underprepared for tonight's show a little bit.
No, man. Let's do the Tommy video. We got to roll with.
Yeah, let's do the Tommy video
with our app man. I mean, we've got a whole nother segment
Yeah,
here.
we've
We're
got
trying
a
to
whole-
bring in a few more people that we have in the wings. Faulkner will be helping us out, and I'm sure now that Johnny's going to be getting involved, we'll definitely get him in some of these shows too. You know, we want to try to mix it up so you don't have to look at our ugly mugs every week, all week. So, well, without further ado, Rich, you want to roll our whitest guy we know?
Hi, it's Honky, the iPhone correspondent for You Can't Brew That on Television, and we're back again today to review another iPhone app for drinking called Red Pint. Red Pint scores some pretty big bonus points with me off the bat by coming up with a catchy tagline like, beer makes everything better. And really, who can argue with that? Red Pint, compared to some of the other apps that we've looked at, is more of a social drinking app. If anyone is familiar with Foursquare or Facebook Places and the whole concept of checking in, this is basically what Red Pint adds to the database apps that we've looked at previously. You tag a beer, and you can select that beer from a pretty extensive list inside the app itself. You can search through the whole list. It does take a little bit to pull up the beers, or if you're drinking something that you can't find in the list, you can add it in there, especially if you're drinking one of the fine brews put out by Dogleg Brewery. Was that enough of a pitch, guys? Anyway, once you've tagged that beer, you can also tag the location that you're drinking at, and you can also tag any of the friends that are Red Pint users that you might be drinking with. You can also search for locations around where you possibly might be drinking, and even see people that are drinking in the same establishment you are, which is really great if you happen to run into one of your friends like Kyle or Bono in the same bar. It's really creepy, though, if you search and walk up to a guy and go, "Hey, I noticed that you're drinking that St. Bernardus. What do you think of that? That's pretty cool. You like Red Pint too, huh?" Come on, guys, really? That is too creepy. Anyway, you can use this app to kind of get a more social picture of what's going on in the bar and tag beers and get badges, just like you can on Foursquare or Facebook Places. The other nice thing about Red Pint is that it's available not only for the iPhone, but for the iPad as a universal app. Unless you're one of those freaky people that likes bringing your iPad to the bar, in which case you probably drink at the Flying Saucer in Addison. Anyway, Red Pint is free and available in the App Store today, so give it a shot, especially if you like drinking with friends. This is Honky, the whitest kid you know, signing off for You Can't Brew That on Television. Happy drinking, folks.
All right, a big thank you to Honky, who's just did a stellar job putting these iPhone reviews together.
Yeah, I mean, he's spot on, too. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good app. I don't have an iPhone. I've got the Droid, and hopefully maybe we can get him a Droid and help him start reviewing some of these apps.
I think that's a good idea,
You know,
because his reviews are a lot better than ours were.
Yeah, for sure. And I've got an app today I just pulled off on the Droid. I'll try to figure out what it is, but it basically... Oh, yeah, it was a conversion program that takes beer and converts it to a calculated amount of how much that would be for a six-pack. And, you know, it's basically everybody knows how much they want to pay for a six-pack, right? So it converts like, oh, I'm buying a single bomber for $12.99, and the equivalent price for a six-pack of this beer is $34.99 or whatever it may be, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, it gives you that basis. It seemed pretty worthless. It's basically
Math?
yeah.
Is it called a calculator?
It's that's it. That's it. It's called Calculator.
Oh, look, it's a calculator.
Yeah, I forgot. I downloaded it. It's called Calculator. It's got this equal sign on it, and that's how I know I'm running Calculator. So, that being said, you know, I think there's some cool apps out there, and the iPhone definitely has the one up on the Droid as far as how long people have been designing apps.
I
for
think
it.
that's definitely true.
And but they've still got the Bill Gates effect.
There's
where-
also a certain amount of fervor there that Apple users tend to have, because the BlackBerry apps have been around for eons, but I don't think anybody cared.
There's still the same 42 BlackBerry apps that were available about 15 years ago when BlackBerry started. It's pretty much the way it is. But they have plenty of apps, but they're all about trying to make your BlackBerry work on everybody else's servers and be able to check your email. It only costs you $42 a month.
Yeah.
In addition to your calling plan. Don't get me started on crackberries. But anyway.
So if anybody wants to jump on that, feel free.
But Brew and Bowl was a two-faced good day because
It really was.
not only threefold.
I was just gonna say threefold.
Because it was a fantastic day in the brewing.
Yeah.
Brewing went well. Then we came inside and got out of the cold and ate some good food and went and watched TCU just put a hurting on Wisconsin. Win by 2 points, right? I mean, but that was a good Wisconsin team. That was a good game.
That was a very good game. The gem of the bowl season.
I think it was by far the best bowl game there was in college football season. And so hats off to the Horned Frogs. What a phenomenal football game! And
then we watched.
in my book, national champions. I think they deserve to be there as much as the crappy Auburn Tigers and Oregon State Ducks. It's Oregon State, right?
And it's one of those.
It's the Alabama Tigers and the Oregon State Ducks.
Yes,
Yeah, that's it.
right.
But then we watched our Oklahoma Sooners just kind of have their way with.
Bob Stoops took the soft, underhanded lob that the BCS gave him and hit it out of the park. So.
And said, here's Connecticut. What do you want to do with it? And they did things that are illegal in most states. So it was fun. It was fun. It was a good day. And to me, bowl season was over. I mean, it was January 1st. And what, we have to wait 9 more days before we got to watch that trash of a game that they called the BCS National Championship? Awful. But anyway.
So let's talk about next week.
Next week.
We've had a lot of segment ideas over the last year or so. And I think a really neat segment that we haven't done yet is glassware. Different glassware for different beers.
Mm-hmm.
So next week we're going to take a look at some different glassware and why it's used for different styles or different specific beers.
We should drink that specific style that goes in that glass.
We should. I think that the official tasting for the night should be Pyramid Snowcap, because that's a nice, delicious seasonal beer that just about everybody in our viewing audience can get.
Okay.
So next week we're going to talk about glassware and we're going to taste some Pyramid Snowcap. And hopefully we won't be dropping out every 30 seconds or so.
Are we dropping out, or is that just us?
A few people have mentioned it on the chat room.
Yeah, I think Ustream's having issues tonight, so what we're going to do, I've got a good recording. I'll post this up tomorrow, and you guys can catch it in reruns, and I'm going to go kick some Ustream ass, and we'll be good.
There it is.
See, our producer's going to roll some heads down the aisle.
Oh, and one more exciting thing. We're working on some new music. I've emailed a band whose music we want to play during the
Very
show.
much so. I mean, this band is...
They're pretty fun.
They pretty much are like... They've pioneered a new genre of music that is just out of this world.
They refer to themselves as a hyperactive hip-hop rock band.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, hyperactive hip-hop rock.
Yeah.
Hip-hop rock.
Yeah,
but it's tough to say.
We never
but very,
introduced ourselves.
I know, we didn't do our... You want to do our sign-in?
Let's do our sign-in and then do our sign-out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll fix this in post. Good job, guys.
Welcome to another exciting episode of You Can't Brew That on Television. I am your host, the Reverend Ryan Bono, and beside me is your host...
Kyle, Cuckoo, Kangaroo, LaPointe.
Nice, I like that one. I like where you went with that.
Yeah.
And we are coming to you live from Dogleg Brewery, as we do every Monday, to help you bridge the gap between beer snob and frat boy. What have we got tonight, Kyle?
Well, we've got the close of the show.
Nice. And how are we going to do that?
We're going to say thanks for coming and enjoying our show with us. And
should we remind the viewing audience that we are not professionals?
So please try this at home.
agitation, frustration, the memorization of the things I'm gonna do to you. This magical and powerful addiction to the pain affliction on your porcelain skin.